Hey everybody, Corey here coming at you with another knife review. Today we are taking a look at the Bestech Ascot. If you're new around here, consider subscribing. I try to buy a new knife every month. Don't tell my wife. So if you've been to my channel for a little bit, you see that I've reviewed two Bestechs now. I've reviewed the Texel, and I have reviewed the, oh gosh, what's it called? I've reviewed another Bestech. Long story short, Bestech so far is 2 for 2 on very much impressing me when it comes to their knives. And the Ascot, I'm just gonna, spoiler alert right now, we're 3 for 3 on this, guys. Bestech really is stepping it up, and they're just making it hard to justify the competition. So just some background. I have looked at versions of the Ascot. I've seen other versions of the Ascot that were not quite so appealing to me. And basically the other versions are a black G10, I think it might be a G10 carbon fiber on the entire handle. On both sides, and they have like red and blue pivot collars, and I don't know, they're not quite as attractive to me. I'm not big on colors on my knives. I don't like reds, I don't like blues, so I was never really attracted to it. But I saw a lot of reviews of the Bestech Ascot, and everybody was impressed. Everybody was happy with their Ascot, and I thought, well, that's great. And then one day I accidentally stumbled across this Bestech Ascot, this version, with kind of like a brassy gold pivot collar, burlwood handles with like a G10 carbon fiber inlay bolster kind of thing going on here. And on the other side, it's a steel pocket clip, but it is also, it's also got that brassy kind of gold look. And this one just screamed sex appeal to me. I saw this and I knew I had to have this. I knew I had to add this to my collection. I was looking for something with wood in it. I was looking for something with a bolster aesthetic to it, and this hit it home on both those fronts. So let's just jump into the things that I noticed about the knife right away, because I'm talking about the aesthetics here. So I guess for those of you who care, it is 14C28N. It's a pretty good mid-grade steel. It's generally an all-purpose steel, so it's got good edge retention, but not outstanding edge retention. It's got very good corrosion resistance, but not outstanding corrosion resistance. You know, things like that. It's a very, very good average Joe steel. There's nothing crazy going on here, but it does the job. It is not a low-end steel, so that's a good thing. In terms of the quality, oh boy, did you see that? I'll just jump straight to my favorite part about this knife. I'm a sucker for a good action, right? So on the open, I can't fail this knife. It requires no effort whatsoever, and it goes straight open. No effort whatsoever. Easy peasy, it doesn't fail. Now, here's something very, very, very exciting that I don't see in a lot of production knives without having to mess with them yourself. Let's get past that detent there. Watch this. Gravity, okay? Look at that. Look at that. That's just gravity. We'll do it again. We'll do it again just to convince you. All I'm doing is turning the knife. Gravity. And oh, by the way, perfectly centered. 100% perfectly centered. I point that out because a lot of times in order to get a gravity shut action, you have to loosen the pivot to the point where the centering is off, and usually you get some blade play. Right now, we've got dead nuts centering, a fall shut action, and no blade play. No blade play whatsoever. That is absolutely amazing. This is a relatively large knife. You can see, I always forget to bring out my other knives for size comparison. Here it is in my hand, right? I've got medium-sized hands. Some people would consider this a large knife. I would consider it a mid to large size knife. You can look up the specs when you do some research on your own, because I'm not your dad and I'm not going to hold your hand and tell you exactly how long the knife is. It's a relatively large knife. Very sexy knife, as I said. Burlwood handles, carbon fiber G10 inlay. I guess it's not technically a bolster, but here it is. It looks like a bolster. It's got a very nice sharpening choil. As you can see, I put a mirror edge on this knife. And I had no problem sharpening it near that ricasso thanks to the sharpening choil. I like the blade shape. It's a very functional blade shape. It gets the job done. It's long, it's sleek, it's got a full flat grind. It's very thin behind the edge. It is very, very thin behind the edge. This treetops hairs, no, it did not treetop hairs out of the box, but it was very easy to sharpen. You can see I just kind of dragged it along. We got a hair. I didn't shave, I just dragged along the hair. So if you're into getting a knife thin behind the edge, nice and sharp, nice and sharp, this one will do it for you. Let's talk about, so again, okay, the materials, they're great. You got burl wood, you got some carbon fiber G10, you got a really good all-around steel. It's got the black DLC coating, which I love on all my knives. One, I think it just looks good with this knife, but two, it offers some extra corrosion resistance. That's nice. The action is good on the open and on the close. Everything is good. Bestech never lets me down. Let's talk about some of the gripes that I have, and I need to put this disclaimer here, guys. I really had to nitpick this knife. I really had to tear it apart because it's so good. I love this knife. It is functional. It is sexy. So I really had to go deep for this. Now, here's the first thing I'll say. You see where the burl wood meets the carbon fiber in the G10? Right there. There's a bit of a gap. Just the tiniest gap. Okay? If you're a complete snob, you see how down here it's almost perfect. They just come together perfectly. And then right here, there's a little gap. Maybe that's just mine. Maybe that's all of them. I don't know, but it's there. And if you are an absolute snob, maybe that'll put you off. On the other side, you can see it's basically perfect. Unfortunately, it's not on the show side, but there it is. That's what I would love for it to look like on the other side as well. But we've got a little bit of a gap there, and I have tried disassembling this, putting it back together. When the screws are fully tightened, that is where this wants to sit. The next thing that I will say, so you know how I said the centering was perfect? When I got this out of the box, the centering actually favored the, I don't know, what's the not show side called? It favored the left. And that was when it was tightened down all the way. If I tighten this pivot down all the way, it will favor the left. Now, in a perfect world, in my mind, in a perfect world, a perfectly engineered knife is one that where you tighten the pivot down all the way, it is at perfect specifications, it has perfect centering, and it has a perfect action. We don't live in a perfect world, and that's okay. If this is the biggest gripe that I can find about this knife, we are on track to an absolutely great knife. So again, if I tighten this pivot down all the way, it will slightly favor the left. So if you're someone who just wants to, not think about it, tighten it down all the way, it'll slightly favor the left. It also, when it's all the way tightened down, all the way to the left, I don't get a gravity shut. I get a very, very, very smooth shut. If I just give it a little flick, it goes all the way down. But it's not a gravity shut. So I did have to adjust it to get it perfectly centered and to gravity shut. However, we're good. I did it. In my opinion, what makes a knife good is not necessarily how it comes out of the box, but how you can work within the specifications of the knife that you received to make it into the knife that you want. This knife, even though it did not come out of the box perfect, I am basically calling this knife perfect because with very minimal adjustment, I get the centering perfect, I get a perfect action, and this thing right here, it really doesn't bug me. It's just if you're absolutely anal about your knives. And look, at the end of the day, this is, what's a price check here? It's $108 on sale at whitemountainKnives.com, and you can use a 10% discount code. I personally have one. I don't make money off of it. It's just, I love their site. I asked them for a discount code, and they gave me one. I'll link it in the description, gives you 10% off. So $108, you can basically save $10.80, call it $11, and it turns into a knife that's just under $100. And honestly, for what you're getting, this knife 100% hands down shares a number one spot with another knife in my collection, who will not be named. All I want to say right now is that out of the 11 knives that I have right now, many of which are over the $100 price point, this one quite easily is either number one or number two, and honestly, it might be number one. I mean, this is a very, very, very impressive knife. Easy to disassemble, easy to clean, easy to put back together. Absolutely beautiful, very functional. It's just classic Bestech. All three knives from Bestech that I've gotten have by miles blown every other knife out of the water that I bought, except for my other top spot, which is also, sorry guys, a Chinese knife company, CH Knives, but we won't talk about that here. Bestech continues to impress. I'm going to wrap up this video. You also get the carrying case. The carrying case comes with cleaning cloth and, you know, warranty instructions and all that stuff. Again, classic Bestech. Here we are, guys. Bestech is awesome. I stand by them. I can't wait to find another knife of theirs that I want to buy next. I'm sorry if I seem biased at this point, but I've gotten burned by other knives, other knife companies, and Bestech is the only one that is 3 for 3, hasn't let me down. Again, you've got sex appeal, you've got functionality, you've got great materials, you've got a price point that really anyone can afford if they just put a little bit of effort in there. It's not blowing anything out of the water in terms of, you know, breaking the budget. It's not a $300 knife. It's just so awesome, guys. I hope you found this review useful. Gosh, go get one. Just go get one. You know you want to get one. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.